Imagine receiving a distress call from somewhere deep in the open ocean. A signal so faint it barely registers above static, and then you hear it, not a clear voice, not even a recognizable word, just fragmented sound, like breath dragged across a broken microphone, followed by silence so complete it feels deliberate. Now imagine realizing that transmission was the last trace of an entire ship. Crew, cargo, steel, history, all swallowed whole, leaving nothing but that whisper suspended forever in recorded time. The ocean has always been vast, but what truly unsettles us is not its size, it is its silence. Because when a vessel disappears on land, something remains. Debris, footprints, evidence. But at sea, disappearance becomes absolute. A ship can exist one moment, transmitting coordinates, routine updates, human conversation, and then the next. Nothing. No wreckage, no distress flare. Only an unfinished sentence dissolving into static. Tonight, we descend into that terrifying absence. We are not just exploring maritime disasters, we are listening to the final human sounds that slipped into the abyss and never returned. These recordings are not simply technical failures. They are psychological echoes, fragments of fear captured in real time, evidence that something went terribly wrong in ways we still cannot fully explain. And that raises a question few want to confront. What if these transmissions are not merely the last words of doomed vessels, but something else entirely? What if the ocean does not just take ships, but answers them? Welcome to Mr. Whisper's Official, where silence speaks louder than truth, and the unknown is never truly quiet. If you are drawn to mysteries that linger long after the sound fades, subscribe now, because tonight we are listening to voices the world was never meant to hear again. This is the sound of humanity confronting something far larger than itself. The moment technology fails, logic collapses, and the only witness left is the sea. One of the most haunting maritime mysteries does not begin with what was heard, but with what was not. In 1955, the merchant vessel MV Joyita was discovered drifting across the South Pacific, partially submerged, abandoned, yet somehow still afloat. Its radios were tuned, its cargo remained, its lifeboats gone. But its crew, all 25 souls, had vanished completely. Investigators searched desperately for distress transmissions, but none were officially recorded, and that silence became the mystery itself. Because maritime protocol demands communication, ships do not simply vanish quietly. Yet the Joyita left behind no final broadcast, no structured mayday, no current player, only speculation that perhaps a message was sent but never received, or worse, that something prevented transmission entirely. Contrast that with the USS Cyclops, a massive US Navy cargo ship that disappeared in 1918 with over 300 people aboard. Its final known message reported no danger, no storm, no mechanical failure. Conditions were stable, course was normal, and then radio silence forever. No wreckage has ever been found. What makes these disappearances so disturbing is not catastrophe. It is normalcy abruptly severed. When audio ends without panic, the human mind fills the gap with dread. Search teams combed thousands of square miles, scanning frequencies, hoping for delayed signals. Echoes bouncing across atmospheric layers. Anything. Instead, they encountered the most unsettling possibility of all, that the final moments of these vessels may have occurred too quickly, too strangely, or too impossibly to even describe. Survivors from other maritime disasters often recount chaotic soundscapes, alarms, rushing water, shouted commands. But in these cases, nothing. No sonic evidence of struggle, only absence. And absence, when recorded, becomes its own kind of message, one that suggests the event was not gradual, but instantaneous. Something that does not escalate, but simply happens, and that raises a chilling possibility. What kind of force erases not just ships, but their final words? Some transmissions do exist, but they are far more disturbing than silence. Over decades, maritime communication logs have captured signals that defy conventional explanation. Distorted voices speaking in rhythms inconsistent with human speech patterns. Overlapping frequencies producing sounds resembling whispers layered beneath mechanical interference. Coordinates transmitted repeatedly that correspond to open water with no recorded vessel presence. In several documented incidents, operators reported hearing voices that sounded distant, slowed, almost submerged, as if the speaker were not surrounded by air, but something heavier, pressing inward. One chilling case involved a fishing vessel transmitting what appeared to be environmental readings, indicating pressure levels impossible at surface depth, followed by fragmented words that could not be linguistically identified. Then a tone resembling feedback, but oscillating at intervals too regular to be random. Skeptics attribute such anomalies to equipment malfunction, atmospheric distortion, or signal reflection across temperature inversion layers. Yet veteran radio operators often describe a different impression entirely. Not noise, but intention. Maritime folklore speaks of rogue waves capable of swallowing ships whole, magnetic anomalies that disrupt navigation, bioluminescent organisms large enough to mimic structured light patterns, even unknown acoustic phenomena generated by shifting tectonic plates. More speculative theories venture further: unidentified, submerged objects, undiscovered megafauna, or acoustic illusions produced by extreme pressure gradients affecting human perception. None of these explanations fully account for transmissions that appear structured yet indecipherable. And perhaps the most unsettling element is consistency across decades, across oceans, across technological generations. Similar auditory anomalies continue to appear. Technology evolves, recording clarity improves, yet the strangeness remains, which forces investigators to confront an uncomfortable question: if these sounds are not random, who or what is producing them? Modern maritime systems operate with satellite tracking, automated distress beacons, real-time environmental monitoring, and layered communication redundancy. In theory, total disappearance should be nearly impossible, and yet, vessels still vanish. In recent years, emergency transmissions have been recorded that began clearly routine communication, navigational updates, weather confirmations, then abruptly degrade into fragmented audio bursts that defy diagnostic interpretation. Some signals terminate mid, others shift into irregular pulse patterns resembling corrupted data streams, and a few simply repeat background sound with no identifiable human input at all. Advanced forensic audio teams now analyze these recordings using spectral decomposition, waveform isolation, and machine learning reconstruction models. Artificial intelligence attempts to extract linguistic patterns from distortion, identify acoustic signatures hidden beneath noise, and reconstruct interrupted speech sequences. Occasionally, partial phrases emerge, but context remains missing. The ocean does not return lost data easily. What makes modern incidents uniquely disturbing is the expectation of certainty. When technology promises precision, mystery feels more threatening because failure implies encountering variables outside predictive systems. Some researchers believe future AI models may eventually decode environmental audio imprints, reconstructing soundscapes from pressure disturbances or electromagnetic residue embedded in water columns. If successful, investigators might one day listen backward, retrieving acoustic history from locations where ships disappeared. Imagine hearing the final seconds of a vessel long after it vanished, preserved not by equipment, but by the ocean itself. Yet even that possibility raises deeper unease. What if those recovered sounds reveal something humanity is not prepared to understand? Why do these whispers captivate us so completely? Because they represent the moment human certainty collapses. The ocean remains Earth's largest unexplored domain, a vast pressure-crushed darkness where light cannot travel and sound behaves Every lost vessel becomes a reminder that, despite radar, satellites, and advanced engineering, we remain visitors on a planet largely defined by water we do not fully comprehend. These distress calls endure not just as mysteries, but as psychological artifacts, evidence of humanity confronting something immeasurable and failing to interpret it in time. Maritime culture carries these stories like echoes passed between generations, warnings, legends, unresolved questions embedded into professional memory. Sailors still report unease when static lingers too long on open frequencies, when instruments register anomalies without cause, when silence stretches beyond expectation. Perhaps the greatest terror is not the possibility of monsters or unknown forces, but the realization that something vast can exist entirely beyond human explanation. And occasionally, it reaches out, not visually, but audibly. A whisper, a fragment, a signal without origin, and somewhere beneath miles of crushing depth, countless transmissions remain unheard. Unfinished, waiting. The ocean does not explain itself. It does not clarify. It only receives. And sometimes, it answers in ways we cannot interpret. So the next time you hear static, pause before dismissing it. Because in the endless darkness below, something may still be speaking. And the most chilling possibility of all is that one day, we might finally understand what it has been saying all along.